Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. At first, no one could quite explain it. There was no headline announcement, no public statement, no dramatic reveal. But somewhere along the way, fans began to sense a shift. Not a loud one. Not something obvious at first glance. It was subtle, almost quiet, but once noticed, it was impossible to ignore. And from that moment on, many fans said they could no longer see Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun the same way again. For a long time, their relationship existed comfortably in the space of former co-stars. After The King, Eternal Monarch ended, both actors returned to their own projects, their own schedules, their own public lives. Interviews were polite, respectful, and carefully worded. Interactions were rare, and when they did happen, they felt safe, professional, and distant enough to avoid speculation. Or at least, that's how it seemed at the time. But recently, fans began to notice something different. It wasn't about grand gestures or obvious displays of affection. In fact, it was the absence of performance that caught people's attention. The way they spoke about each other changed. The tone softened. The pauses grew longer. There was less explanation, less effort to define what they were, and more moments where words felt unnecessary. One of the first things fans picked up on was eye contact. In shared appearances and resurfaced behind-the-scenes footage, viewers noticed how Lee Min-ho's attention often lingered on Kim Go-eun in a way that felt unguarded. It wasn't dramatic or intense, but calm and familiar. The kind of look that doesn't ask for a response, because it already knows one will come. Kim Go-eun, in turn, appeared more relaxed around him than before, her expressions less controlled, her smiles more spontaneous. What made this shift feel significant was timing. This wasn't during active promotions when chemistry is expected and carefully maintained. These moments appeared long after the cameras were supposed to stop caring. That's what made fans pause. But why this ease, this warmth, when there's nothing to promote and nothing to gain? Fans also pointed out changes in body language. Subtle adjustments in posture, the way they naturally oriented themselves toward each other, even when not directly interacting. There was a sense of comfort that didn't feel rehearsed. For actors as experienced as Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun, fans are used to seeing polished chemistry. This felt different. This felt lived in. Another detail that sparked conversation was how they spoke about the past. When asked about The King, Eternal Monarch, Lee Min-ho's responses carried a nostalgic tone that went beyond professional pride. He spoke less about the role and more about the experience, the people, and the time itself. Kim Go-eun, meanwhile, often smiled quietly when his name came up, offering short but sincere comments, as if certain things didn't need to be explained out loud. Social media, of course, amplified everything. Fans began comparing old interviews to newer ones, side by side. The difference wasn't dramatic, but it was consistent. Earlier interactions felt careful, almost guarded. Recent ones felt lighter, warmer, and more personal. It was as if the invisible wall that once existed between them had quietly disappeared. What truly convinced many fans, though, was what wasn't happening. There was no effort to deny rumors outright. No firm statements reinforcing that they were just friends or just colleagues. In an industry where agencies often move quickly to shut down speculation, the silence felt meaningful. Not confirmatory, but telling. It left space for interpretation, and fans filled that space with observation rather than imagination. Longtime followers of both actors know how private they are. Lee Min-ho has always been careful with his public image, especially regarding personal relationships. Kim Go-eun is equally reserved, rarely sharing details beyond what is necessary. Because of this, fans argue that if something truly had changed, it would show up exactly like this. Quietly, indirectly, without announcements. There's also the emotional context to consider. The King, Eternal Monarch was not an easy project. It was demanding, polarizing, and deeply immersive. Actors who go through intense experiences together often form bonds that go beyond ordinary co-star relationships. Fans believe that whatever connection was formed during that time may not have ended when filming stopped. Instead, it may have evolved privately, away from public attention. What makes this narrative compelling is how grounded it feels. Fans aren't pointing to a single viral moment or sensational interaction. They're noticing patterns, a consistent softness, a mutual understanding that seems to require fewer words. These are the kinds of changes that don't come from acting, but from familiarity. Of course, none of this is confirmed, and fans know that, but that hasn't stopped the conversation from growing. In online communities, discussions aren't framed around wild theories, but around feelings. People say things like, "They seem different now," or "There's something calmer about them together." It's less about proving anything and more about sensing something. Some fans have even said that if Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun were to reveal they've been together quietly for some time, it wouldn't feel shocking. It would feel natural, almost expected. That, perhaps, is the strongest indicator of all. When speculation doesn't feel forced, but instead fits seamlessly into the story people are already observing. Still, it's important to remember that actors are human beings, not characters. Interpretations can be influenced by hope, nostalgia, and affection for what they represented on screen. Chemistry doesn't always translate into romance, and comfort doesn't always mean a relationship. But even with that understanding, fans insist that something has undeniably shifted. Maybe it's simply two people who share a deep respect and affection for each other after years of growth. Maybe it's the kind of bond that doesn't need labels. Or maybe, as many fans believe, it's the quiet result of a relationship that has been intentionally kept out of the spotlight. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. Fans no longer see Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun as they once did. The lens has changed. The context feels different. And whether or not they ever confirm anything publicly, the way people perceive their connection has already evolved. In the end, this story isn't really about proving whether they are together. It's about how subtle changes can speak louder than announcements, how silence can be interpreted as intention, and how sometimes the most convincing moments are the ones that feel too natural to be staged. For now, Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun continue their careers as they always have, with grace, professionalism, and restraint. But in the background, fans are still watching. Not for scandals or headlines, but for those small, quiet moments that seem to say more than words ever could. And perhaps that's why this story resonates so strongly. Because if they truly are together, this is exactly how it would look.